Who else am I talking to? Hi, Smaria Guitaria here. Welcome to the rebranded show, Who Else Am I Talking To, where I talk to you about dates that have gone wrong. Today's episode is called Water Polho and also Sir Late a Lot. Two different stories. So let's get going. Water Polho, good looking guy who was mixed, half black, half white. And we had a video call, which it kind of wasn't working out, so we switched to the phone. He didn't ask me too many questions about myself. I kind of should have seen that as the red flag, but just thought maybe he's not great on the phone. Agreed to go to an Indian restaurant. He said he just was new to his area and didn't really know where to go, so I suggested me looking it up. Fine, both of us have Google and the internet, but that's fine. I don't mind going and looking up places because then I can ensure that I'm picking a place that I want to try and that works out for me, right? So we agreed to go to the place. We both were 15 minutes late, so whatevs. And then, he asked me more questions once I was in front of him because I think he was interested in what I looked like. He indicated that a lot of dates he had been on, basically they don't look like their pictures. And for me, all of my pictures on the dating app are from like last month. So then he says at the end of the date, or at the end of dinner, he paid, which was nice. And he's like, oh, I have a practice I got to go to. And it starts in like 50 minutes, but I got to run home first. And that was kind of weird. Like, you didn't save a whole lot of time for this date. We've been together for like an hour. So, okay. He walks me to my car, and as he's walking me to my car, he's looking at my legs and my booty. And I'm like, are you looking at my tattoo? Or are you checking me out? And he's like, both. And I was like, okay. And then I'm wearing this tube top because it's a good one. And he starts pulling at the back of it. And he's like, oh, does it go all the way down? And it's like pulling at my tube top for the first date. And it was like, you can't do that. And he's like, well, how far does it go down? And I thought to myself, it seems very clear what this man is interested in, and it doesn't really seem like my personality. So I gave him the butterfly hug, like church hug, where you're like, your booty's out in another time zone and kind of patting them on the shoulders kind of thing. And he's like, well, let me know if you ever want to do this again. And I was like, oh, thank you. Thank you so much for dinner. And then the next day I messaged him, thank you so much for dinner and for taking the time, but I just get the feeling we're not a match. Hope you find what you're looking for. Next on that one. And now on to the next story, which is Sir Late a Lot. So this next gentleman, he kind of looked like Rob Reinert, I think, the director. He self-described himself as average looking. That's fine. He seemed like he was going to be nice. We agreed to meet at a cafe near me downtown. He said, pick any place. And I said, okay, how about this place? How about 4:00? You said you get out of work at 3:30. Is that enough time? He said, yes, that'll be fine. See you there at 4. And maybe I could get something sweet. And I said, okay. So he messages me at 3:40 saying I'm on my way. And so I'm thinking, well, I don't know where he works, but that's about 20 minutes. And I said, no problem. I'm right down the street. I knew I had a 10-minute walk. And so I got there at 4:04. He wasn't there. And I messaged him saying I'm here. At 4:07, he messages me, or 4:10, he messages me, oh, ETA is 4:20. And I'm thinking, I don't think he's just realizing right now at 10 minutes late that he's going to be late further. So I didn't like that. And I wrote, that would have been useful to know a little bit before, because I rushed out the door to get there. There were things I wanted to do. I had a few text messages of people asking me about things to schedule for my crystal ball reading gig. And I rushed out the door to make it. And, I think he knew that he was going to be late and just was hoping that I was going to be late too and not really handle it well. And so I get there and I'm sitting there at first messing with my phone, and I thought, you know what, screw this. I don't want to be eating in front of him. I told him I have another engagement I have to go to. I'm meeting somebody else for a cover band that somebody else and I are doing. And so I was thinking, I don't want to be like wolfing down food in front of him while I'm trying to talk to him. Let me just order my pastry and order a latte, a matcha latte, and he'll get here and that's fine. You know, he's going to be 20 minutes late anyways. And so I go ahead and do that. And then he walks in at 4:20 and I'm 20 minutes late. I'm already chewing my pastry and looks over and he's like, oh, as if he just walked in on me cheating. And I was like, I'm sorry, I went ahead and started without you. He's like, you started without me? And I was like, well, you were going to be late. And so, you know, I just went ahead. And he was like, oh, and he just seemed so disappointed. And I said, well, it's okay. Like, I'm fine. You get you your drink and get you your pastry and I'll sit here. I'm not going to run out. And he's like, well, I don't know if you were pissed off or anything. And I said, well, I'm not pissed, but you know, I am a lady from New Jersey and we said 4 o'clock. You agreed to that time when I asked you earlier today. You could have said 4:30 just to be safe. And he's like, well, it's sometimes hard to know, like traffic just popped up. You know, I leave work at 3:30. I've got to get out of my office, out of the whole building, out into the parking lot, out of the whole naval space area. It's downtown. I said, well, then you knew all of that then, and you shouldn't have agreed to 4 o'clock. You could have said 4:30. None of that first part was a surprise to you. And he was like, well, it said 4:02 when I looked. And I'm thinking, I bet it said 4:02 when you were sitting at your desk and not out with all that. So I was like, well, okay, are you like are you just over it then? He said, kind of, I'm just bummed out that you started without me. And I was like, okay, well, sorry about that then. And he said, well, sorry, I wasted your time. I said, vice versa, good luck. And he left. And it's like, Your Highness, like, it was a coffee shop with pastries. It wasn't dinner. It was very casual. And dude was 20 minutes late and told me he was going to be 20 minutes late, 10 minutes after he should have been there. So I'm sorry, if you're late, you kind of have to deal with the fact that you're late and the other person might want to have a drink and a pastry before you get there, especially when they have something else going on right afterwards. So get over yourself. I would have been willing to continue talking to him. I just was still living my life, not waiting for him, because who knows, right? Like, I'm sorry. So I could have waited, but ultimately, as soon as he walked in, I could tell there was zero chemistry anyways. He didn't even look like he brought his A game with what he was wearing. I'm dressed kind of cute. Look at what I'm wearing. See? Cute outfit. So, no to that one. We're still talking to people. Thanks for letting me process. Next time, I'll tell you more about who else am I talking to. Who else am I talking to?